I'm Chaplain Jenny Schroedel, and I work for Optage Hospice with Presbyterian Homes and Services, and I specialize in grief support. I really believe that the interest in this work started when I was very young, and I learned that I had a brother that lived only 2 weeks, my brother Garrison. And the death of my brother was something that was very much present in my home. My parents would take us to the cemetery and we would put flowers on his grave, and the grief continued as the years went on. That loss was always present in my childhood. And I believe that on some level, this made grief my natural habitat. It infused my home, and I was comfortable being with it. And then I also wanted to help people to navigate their losses, because I already knew that terrain as a child. And so when I got into high school, I had this interest. I remember my favorite book was C.S. Lewis's A Grief Observed when I was in high school. And then I did my senior project in high school on near-death experiences. So I was just kind of naturally interested, moving in this direction. And then when I went to college, I was studying journalism, but I took one class on death and bereavement. And I learned about hospice in this class. And this was back in the 90s, so hospice was very different from how it is now. But I remember reading about a family that cared for their mother at home, and after she died, the family said prayers around her, washed her body, prepared her for burial themselves. And I thought, that is how death should be. And I want to be part of this as well. So I'm also a hospice chaplain, not just doing grief support, but I have done a lot of bedside care for people that are on hospice over these last several years. Everyone will experience a loss over the course of their life. All of us will experience the death of a loved one, our own death at some point. The simplest definition of hospice is a care model that people qualify for when a doctor can certify that if their disease follows its natural progression, the doctor's expectation is that they would die within 6 months, and at that point they wouldn't be pursuing curative treatment. The mystery of it is that some people will come on hospice and live much longer than 6 months. So that's the technical kind of entry point, how a person would qualify. The experience of hospice, or what it is as a medical model, I think it's the best medical model that we actually have, because it is medicine organized around the whole person. There's a medical director, a doctor, who oversees the care. There's a nurse case manager, who's the person who's going to work most directly organizing your care, organizing your medications, organizing your durable medical equipment, and all the things to meet the medical side. But there's also going to be a chaplain that will be there to support you in the spiritual concerns, questions, goals that come up. A social worker who's going to be there as well to assist with some of the emotional processing, and also some of the kind of technical, getting you resources and helping you navigate some of the practical dilemmas that come up. And then often our own hospice, Optage Hospice, is going to also offer massage therapy, music therapy. My dad is currently on hospice, and I cannot overstate how much better his life is right now because of all these people coming to see him and be with him. And I do think this is part of why people sometimes will live longer on hospice. Life gets better. Sometimes I think that I would like to have a bumper sticker on my car that says, "Life is better on hospice." However, I don't want to minimize the fact that when people go on hospice, they're at the worst point. So maybe the bumper sticker should say, when life is really terrible, it can get a lot better on hospice. people miss out on this opportunity to have a far more peaceful final weeks or months of life for many reasons. I think the number one reason is that they either wait too long. Sometimes people wait too long. I mean, I think people should go on hospice as soon as they would qualify. So for example, in the case with my mom, she had kidney failure. She chose not to get dialysis. At that point, a person could live 2 weeks or a year, potentially, because kidney failure is going to progress in an unpredictable way. Her palliative care nurse practitioner said, I think you would qualify for hospice now. My parents' resistance to hospice was, my mom said, and my dad said, we still want to have an active life, so we don't want to go on hospice. And I tried to help them understand that hospice wasn't going to take away from their ability to do things. If anything, it would make it more possible potentially. In the case with my mom, she had chronic pain for the last 10 years of her life. It was only when she got onto hospice that she got expert pain management, so she wasn't in pain. So we actually went out more and did more things than we were able to do in the years before. That last 6 months of her life, she went out to a restaurant almost every single day. That was her favorite thing to do. Engaged with many of her friends. When you can manage pain, and when you have that kind of spiritual support, and when you have support with some of the technical aspects, and you're connecting with whatever resources you need, you can live better. So I think the resistance is, I want to have an active life. People misunderstanding that they don't have to go to a place. Going on hospice is nothing like going into a hospital. Most people will stay right where they are, in their private home, or if they are already in a care center or an independent living apartment, most people will stay right there. But some people will go into a hospice home, but that would be by choice. People also may miss out on this benefit because they feel like hospice is giving up hope. And they say, I'm still hoping for a cure. And if I go on hospice, that would be like giving up hope. And that's something that I think is really important for people to understand. Hospice is not about giving up hope. Hospice is about reframing your hope. So hospice is about shifting from the primary goal being, I will be cured. We can pray for that. We can hope for that. We don't know for sure that we'll be cured. Sometimes people are, sometimes they aren't. But shifting our hope to hoping that we spend the time in the way that we would most want to. So sometimes it's being relieved of the burden of all of these medical appointments, and sometimes the burden of treatment is so great. And hope becomes, I hope I can just be with people for this time, or I hope I can complete one last thing that I want to do here on this earth. So hospice is not about giving up hope. It's about reframing hope. And I guess the final barrier people have is that they may feel like hospice means you're going to die sooner. Like somehow if you go on hospice, you will die sooner. And that's a really hard one to overcome. There's a wonderful book by Atul Gawande called Being Mortal, where he actually talks about he's a physician, and he talks about some of these studies that show that with certain cancers you may live longer on hospice, but also the reality doesn't change whether you're on hospice or not. If death is coming, death is coming. And again, like the bumper sticker I was talking about, if we face the reality and choose how we'll spend our time, it can be so much better. And I do feel like hospice is about kind of taking back that freedom as we approach end of life. So I will go where the need is, and I'm so grateful to have a job that allows me to do some outreach and be available to the community as needed. If you would like to connect with me, see our website, optage.org, and there is a grief support link. And there's also a phone number at the top for our main line. You can call that main line to be connected with me. I'm Chaplain Jenny Schroedel. And there's also a monthly e-newsletter that we send out that in the e-newsletter, I share tips on grief, but also all of our upcoming grief group opportunities. So you can certainly subscribe to that as well.